I'm gonna lose it. He doesn't like editing and he's about to have to edit all this. The last time was fun. You should have been there. You should have been there too. And now we begin.
Oh, hello.
Hi.
How's it going?
It's not like I haven't seen you for the last how many hours?
Yeah. We haven't been setting this up since noon today.
More like getting distracted since noon with 50 million other things.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of that going on too. Because your life as an artist is very easy and you don't have people asking you to do things every 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's no changing in gas station bathrooms or, pulling over to make sure a post's scheduled.
Yeah.
Exactly.
This year, you've been really busy.
Incredibly busy.
What have you been working on?
We recorded an EP. I've played a lot of shows, I think over 200 this year. And I've written a lot of songs. I've met a lot of new people, and I've traveled to a lot of places. And I've stopped at a lot of gas stations. And I've lost a lot of hubcaps. They may have rolled more miles than I've traveled.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, my bank account thinks so too.
Oh my goodness. What's been your favorite show on the road so far this year, or maybe your top few favorites?
Definitely enjoyed opening for Kate Watson. That was fun, but that was a lot of fun because everybody came along. And then favorite full band show, which you weren't there to get footage for. Gosh, there's a couple of them, but I love playing at Margaritaville, Crystal Beach this summer. That was a blast. We all wore Hawaiian shirts for 5 o'clock somewhere. The guys wore them the whole time. I just wore mine during 5 o'clock somewhere. And then, let me see, Silver Saddle Saloon in Granbury. That was an absolute blast. That was Luke's last show with us. Still sad. And then, where else? There's lots. Hoots with Carter. That was fun. You also don't have footage of that one.
Yeah.
The last time was fun. You should have been there. You should have been there too if you weren't there, but it was a lot of fun.
I wanted to be there. I'll get more shows this year. I need to bring the camera.
You better be at more shows.
I'm trying. Hoots is a good one, though.
Hoots is fantastic. Yeah.
I like Hoots. We have some pictures from the time we did go and some footage from that one.
Yeah.
We've never been to Silver Saddle with you.
No.
We did go to both Margaritaville ones, though.
That was the first overnight run of shows away from home. We went to Conroe, Red Brick Tavern, and then we drove on down to Coastal Beach.
Right.
Played there, and then we drove on home.
Yeah. What do you like to do when you're on the road, kind of between shows or getting ready for them?
If I'm driving, then I listen to music, podcasts, or books. If I'm writing, I'm usually working on stuff because time on the road is a great time to catch up on everything I've missed. Also just getting my life organized and figuring out what I need to do when we get there sometimes too.
Have you explored any cool places as you're on the road, because you're going to be in different cities, that kind of thing. So
this is my favorite part of traveling because I love to go find random things to do before shows. I will go out of my way to find stuff. But I was in Springfield a couple weekends ago and we went to Fantastic Caverns, which is the largest cavern in the U.S. because it's the only one of 4 in the world you can drive through. And we toured it, and I saw stalactites and stalagmites, and it was a dream, to say the least. I love coffee shops, too. Every town I go to, I always try a local coffee shop. In Springfield, we got to try Echelon Coffee. That was a blast. And one of my favorites I discovered in Fort Worth this year was Summer Moon Coffee. They have moon milk, which is amazing. And then I will also sometimes try food there. I'm obsessed with coffee, even though technically I shouldn't have it, but I like it. I just gotta make sure I have it 6 hours before I start singing. So all of the caffeine is out of my system. It's not good for your vocal cords. And coffee shops get bonus points if they have strawberry syrup, so I can get a strawberry mocha latte.
You've been to Nashville a few times as well this year?
I love going out there because I went through a phase at one point where I hated every single song I wrote. And writing with other people, I'm a lot less critical of the songs because when you write it, it's your own work. You're not going to listen to it or see it the same way someone else does. So I rip it to shreds and I'll rewrite it 100 times. And I did math once and I figured out I only play out about 10% of the songs I write, if that. Sometimes that percentage is even lower. So it's very rare people actually hear a song I wrote by myself.
They have a private stash of songs nobody's ever going to hear.
Literally. It's terrifying. It's a really big stash too. But when I write with friends, though, I get really excited and I love talking about them and getting to share what we created together. And it's really happy memory for me usually.
What do you tackle first as a songwriter?
It depends on the day. Depends on who I'm writing with, depends on my mood. Sometimes, like, I have tons of voice memos with melodies that I can go sift through. I have a whole folder on my phone with that. I have a list of titles that I can scroll through. I think I have 5 notes right now with titles. I also just have one, I call it my idea garden. It's just photos of quotes or sometimes a picture that evokes a certain feeling, and I'll read through all of that. And sometimes too, it's just lines I've written, or like I'll wake up at 3 a.m. I'm really bad about this. I'll wake up at 3 a.m., think of something, I pull out my phone, write it down, roll over and go back to sleep, and then that's it. And I do that with melodies too, but it really just depends on who I'm writing with, if, you know, on a co-write, how I approach it. And then sometimes if I get a really, really good idea that I want to hash out on my own, I'll go pull that. Usually if it's a very specific idea, I'll write it on my own, but I'm more clever when I write on my own than I am with co-writers usually. Usually with co-writers, I'm more like detail oriented or vulnerable. And then when I'm on my own, I'm like, you know, like Whiskey Me Away. That's a punny, witty song. That's more of my, like Mama I Tried as a flute, because I normally never write stuff like that on my own.
Do you have a preference for writing on your own or collaborating with others, or not really?
I think for memory's sake, I like writing with others, because when I write on my own, it's really boring. It's just like, cool, sat down with guitar and now there's a song. But when you write with other people, you get to also catch up with them and get to know them better. And I've really gotten to where I value connecting with others.
So it's much more of a social, creative experience versus just like offloading whatever's in your head at the moment.
Yeah, and then sometimes too, you finish a song and you'll sit and talk with them even more, and you'll start swapping songs they've written with other people. And because I know for me, like a lot of times I'm not great at being able to talk about personal things that happen, but I can put it into a song, and it's like, yo, here's my heart on my sleeve, please handle it with care. And that's a way to talk with somebody. It's a weird language, I guess, for me.
Have any of those co-writes been recorded? Are you like getting those done? Like, how's that going?
We're talking about the EP coming out?
That's up to you if you want to talk about that.
There's a short list right now for an album I am working on making, and then there's an EP coming out next year. So those are going to be the first co-writes I've ever cut. So I'm super stoked. There's 2 songs on there I wrote by myself, Whiskey Me Away and Mama I Tried. And then between these 2 Barstools and Heartbreaker's Paradise, I wrote with Jessica and Amy. Love them. Amazing. They were my first ever co-writes in Nashville. And I just remember when we wrote Between These 2 Barstools, that song was the story of my life at that point. You know, I was always between 2 barstools, meeting a stranger, talking to them. And that was the one song on the EP. I didn't expect it to go viral. I recorded it for me, and I wanted it to be the first song released because it's the story of my life. And then Heartbreaker's Paradise started off being a much slower, bluesier song, and now it's got trumpets on it. So it's fantastic. And then the other co-write I have on that record is with Shelby. It was the first ever song we wrote together, and it's called Untamed. I remember I told her after that, I was like, I'm going to cut it. And she was like, no, you're not. And I was like, then I got to send it to her, and I was super happy. I love singing multiple genres, and it's on there.
It'll be pretty good then for showcasing your talent and like, I guess your range in
vocal styles. It's there.
So what was the process, or how did it go recording the EP? Was that like really difficult, really stressful? It
wasn't stressful. It was a learning experience, because I've always been on the side of the studio where I'm getting called in to go do background vocals, or I'm getting called in just to, you know, hang out with a friend. And I remember going in, and I've never been on the side, you know, I've never watched drums be recorded or bass, or usually the whole track, if I'm there, it's done. And I'm just coming in to put, you know, the sprinkles on top with background vocals. And I remember when I met Tim, I had called a bunch of other studios, and I hadn't found anybody I was excited about working with. And mind you, I did talk to some amazing producers, but I'm a vibe person. Like, I've got to, when I talk to you, the vibe's got to be there. And I remember as soon as I met Tim, I brought my bassist Tim with me, and we were sitting on the couch, and he started pulling up songs and that were in the wheelhouse, and I was playing him the songs I wanted on the project, and it has just been a wonderful process from day one. It was clear, like, here's what we're doing on this day, you know, like, here's when we need it done by, and all of this. And I was just like, it was what I needed, because I had no clue what I was doing. And I remember too, he cared, because some of the studios I called, they call them music mills. You just get a song, take it to the studio. I usually do, I think it's like 1 to 3 run-throughs of it, and they just pick one, and that's it. And I, A, never really having explored my sound, and B, never having been on this side of it, I didn't want to do that. And Tim, he cares, and I loved that too, because he was like, yeah, if we need to recut something, we'll recut it. And I was just like, thank you. So that was awesome too.
What songs are actually going in the EP? Because I assume you have a lot of them that you've co-written with your friends, that kind of thing. So how do you pick which ones actually end up on the EP? And
doing all of the cover song shows I've been doing, I would slip in an original, and I just got to see how people reacted. And, you know, oftentimes when you're playing at a lot of these places, people are talking, you know, you're interrupting their dinner. Your goal is to be background noise most often. And when the crowd stops talking and starts listening, that's when you know you have a good song. So that's how I picked the 5 on the EP.
You gotta see it at the tape. You can lie, you can cheat, just tell me that you love me. You know I'm living in the
how was the recording process for those 5 songs? Did it take a long time to like figure out what they were supposed to sound like, or did you already know kind of the direction you were going with them?
Between these 2 bar stools was the most straightforward. I knew I wanted the lyrics to lead because it's such a great story. And it's one of those songs too, it's hard to just take a snapshot of it and post 30 seconds of it on social media. You gotta listen to it from top to bottom to really see the full picture and just the weight the lyrics carry. And in that moment in time it captures. And I remember when we went to the studio, we did that one in 3 days, it was done. And then I remember Heartbreaker's Paradise, complete opposite. I had no clue. All I knew is I remember I walked in, I looked at him and I was like, I hear trumpets. And he goes, trumpets? And I was like, trumpets. Because somewhere in my life I started associating Paradise with trumpets. Don't know why. I just did. Most people, I think of a tin pan, you know, from the Caribbean. I'm like, trumpets, salsa music, roses in the hair, probably because I grew up in Texas. But they're on there. Jordan came in and he was swapping mouthpieces and he did a flute bowl, I think. And I was absolutely mind blown watching him work. I've never seen anything like it. And it's a pop song. So it started off being more of a bluesy, soulful country song. And now you're moving and grooving and you're like, what is this? Santana-esque. But that one took a little bit more time. But I remember the hardest one was Untamed. I had no clue what to do with that one. Absolutely none. I just knew I loved how it sounded acoustically, and that was the foundation, if you will, of the song. And then Whiskey Me Away and Mama I Tried, those were much more straightforward. You know, we were trying different things, taking stuff out, putting it back in. I knew how those were going to sound. Untamed, though, it needed an extra instrument, and the guitar solos, we weren't sure if it needed one or not. And that was what made that one a little bit more complicated, because it was just one of those trying to capture a very specific feeling, that free-spirited feeling. And it was like, is this taking away from it? Is this adding to it? Is this, you know, making it sound too churchy? Is this, you know, making it feel like the open road? But that one was a lot of fun to really sit and watch Tim work his magic with guitars, and just they added an organ, which I was not expecting, and I just remember I was like, oh yeah, you can hear it in there if you listen closely. So
Tim also did background vocals for one of them, right?
he did. He stepped in, and he was what was it? He was the dude that I was like, you're not whisking me away. He was that character in Whisking Me Away.
We went to the studio with the guys the first day, and then we went back the second day with you as well.
Yeah.
And then the next time we went back, you guys had already recorded pretty much most of the EP, and we were just working on Heartbreaker's Paradise. I was surprised about that.
Yeah, Zach and Tim, my bassist is also named Tim. They recorded everything in, I think, 2 or 3 weekends. That was it.
That's
and they were done.
Actually.
Yeah, they were done.
Because they're not used to being studio musicians, right? So
no, that was both of their first times. I was like, yo, when I can play, that was risky. I was told by a lot of people not to do that, but I just remember they've played the songs with me live, and I've worked with them enough to know I was like, they can take instruction and make changes and, you know, bring it to life and see the vision too. And that's a really unique thing to find in someone who performs live, because most live musicians, they either live musicians or they're studio musicians. A lot of live musicians will transition to studio musicians as they get older, but usually you're only one or the other.
All right, what about some career maybe highlights for this year? Something cool that's happened?
Seacrest Studios, that was really cool. I love getting to sing for kids. I've sung Golden. I learned Korean. I also learned I can't speak Korean correctly while playing guitar because the chords on Golden and how high it is, all of my mental brain power goes there, and I'm not great at speaking other languages. I try. The first verse of Golden is fantastic, and then I get to the chorus and it just goes real quick. But I love getting to play for kids. They're my favorite crowd. At Seacrest Studios, I got to go play for them this year, and I remember I walked in and they were like, "You can't sing about alcohol," and you know, it's kids, and I was just like, "Oh, I haven't really thought about this." And then the other highlight, which it is definitely not a career high to probably 99% of the population, but it was for me. But my favorite album as a kid was Carrie Underwood's Storyteller. It was the first album I ever bought on CD. I remember we were at Target with my dad, and I bought it with my own money. I was super excited, and I got home and I learned everything. And I had to get the Target edition because it had an extra song on it that was not on the actual album. I mean, I've spent thousands of hours singing Carrie Underwood. She was one of the first artists I ever learned to sing from. I learned all the songs, and I remember when I started doing shows back in 2024, I wanted to, I knew it probably wouldn't happen, but I wanted one person to come in and just be like, "Can you play the Storyteller album top to bottom?" Because I know this album like the back of my hand. And I was playing at Jack Ruby's in the West End in Dallas, and it was Thursday night football, and nobody was there. And I remember John walked in, and John was just like, so I was singing Blown Away by Carrie Underwood, and John was like, "Oh, you like Carrie Underwood?" And I was like, "I love Carrie Underwood." And he goes, "Do you like her Storyteller album?" And I said, "Well, yeah." And he was like, "Can you play it?" And I was just going, it happened. It happened. So that was the rest of the set. Shout out to the bartenders and the sound person. They're incredible there too. But it's a really cool hole in the wall bar. But they were giving me song requests when we were playing, but then John walked in and I was like,
all right, we've talked about a fair amount of things that have happened to you in 2025. Is there anything else that we can look forward to coming in 2026? Anything else you're still doing this year?
I mean, Whiskey Me Away comes out January 23rd. Untamed comes out in March. Mama I Tried comes out around Mother's Day. Heartbreakers is coming out in July. I believe it's the Friday right before July 4th. And then there's a bonus song. We're not talking about the bonus song, but there will be a bonus song coming out in September. And then I've got a Christmas song I wrote with J4 and Ariana that I cannot wait for people to hear. It has the word cryptocurrency. Thank you all again for making 2025 one of the best years yet. I can't wait to share with you everything we've got in 2026. And just thank you for coming out to the shows, for listening to the songs, for messaging me on social media, and all of your kind words and encouragement. It means the world, and y'all are the reason I do what I do. And thank you to the good Lord above that I get to do it. So thank y'all again.
Now we're two strangers just sharing our histories. Whiskey needs good for me. Hell will take three. Between these two muscles, one of us is good.